Hello everyone, I am Harshita KM from Sri Venkateshwara College of Engineering, currently studying 6th in Department of Computer Science and Engineering. Today I am going to present the topic on table creation using HTML. So coming to content part, contents include HTML table creation, HTML row span and call span, HTML styling, creation of HTML forms, HTML form elements. And then moving to first topic, HTML table creation. HTML table allow us to arrange data into rows and columns on the web page. We use the table tag to create table in HTML. A table consists of rows and columns. Table heading, row and column, and table data can be set using one or more th tag, tr tag, and td elements. The table row is defined by the tr tag. To set table header, we use th tag. To insert data into table cell, we use the td tag. A table in HTML consists of table cells inside rows and columns of the table. Table heading is defined by th tag, which is defined the content in the th tag, and then it is end by the \th tag. Data inside the th or the headings of columns of a table. Each table cells is defined by a td tag, and the data is inserted between the start tag and ending td tag. The data inside the td tag are content of table rows and columns. Each table row starts with tr tag and ends with \tr tag. We use style sheet to create border for the table. These are the basic HTML table tags. The table tag defines a table. The th tag defines a header cell in a table. The td tag defines a cell in a table. The tr tag defines a row in a table. The caption tag defines a table caption, and there are many other HTML table tags. So this is a basic structure of the table, and this structure is used to create the table using rows and columns. Here we have 3 rows and 7 columns. We need to define the names of the days in the header format. So we are defining tr tag followed by a heading tag, that is th tag, and we define the names of the days. At last we are closing the row tag, means which gives us that the first row is ended, and then again we need to insert the second row. So we need to insert the values for our second row. Again we are taking the tr tag, then within the tr tag we are defining the values in the format of columns. So we are using to define the values in columns, so we are using td tag. So in the same way we are defining the values for the columns using the third row. And then moving to HTML row span and call span. The row span is an attribute in HTML that sets the space any cell will take in the table row-wise. Row span in HTML is usually used when you have repetitive content in your table. The column span is an HTML attribute that allows you to span a row or column across multiple cells. This means instead of having multiple columns, the cells will merge and the content will span multiple columns. This is a basic example for HTML table row span. As we can see in the output, here here the first row and the second row is merged into a single row called as phone. In the same way, in the code we are writing that the th row span is equal to 2, and we are defining it as phone. And then next is an example for call span. As we can see in the output, here the column 1 and column 2 is merged into a single column called as name. So in the code we are defining th call span is equal to 2, and we are naming it as name because the first column and the second column is merged together into a single column called as name. Coming to styling part, the styling of in HTML, the styling basically consists of zebra stripe table. For zebra stripe table, we use the nth child selector and it adds a background color to an even or odd table rows. As we can see in the output, here the row 1 and the row 3 is selected for stripings. So the background color for the row 1 and row 3 is changed. It is in the output is in the form of the zebra striped. So the styling is basically consists of zebra stripe styling. And then moving to HTML forms, this is the basic structure of the HTML form. Here we use the form action, input type, label. In the form action, we need to define the action. The user action is specified in the form action. So in the label field, we are giving the names for the labels. Here label is equal to fname, which defines the first name of the user, and for the particular label we need to give the input. So in here the input is of type text, and the ID for input type is the first name. So the first name value is John, and in the same way the input type for last name is Doe. After giving the action submit button, so the input is received as like this: fname is equal to John and lname is Doe. And then coming to HTML form element, the HTML form element is used to create an HTML form for user input. This is the basic structure of the form elements, that is the starting form tag and ending form tag are defined. Within the starting and ending form tags, we need to define the form tag elements. The form tag element is container for different types of input elements such as text fields, checkboxes, radio buttons, submit buttons, and so on. Some of HTML form elements are input, label, select, text area, button, field set, legend, and data list. Here we are going to discuss the most important HTML form elements, that are input field. So the first element is input type. Here the HTML input element is the most used form element, and an input element can be displayed in many ways depending on type attribute. Here we can see the input type and description for the particular input type. If the input type is a text, then it displays a single line text input field. If it is of type radio, it displays a radio button. If it is of type checkbox, and it displays a checkbox. If it is of type submit, it displays submit button. If it is of type button, then it displays a clickable button. And the next form element is label. The label tag defines a label for many form elements. The label element is useful for screen reader users because the screen reader will read out the loud label when the user focuses on input element. The label element also helps users who have difficulty in clicking on very small regions, because when the user clicks the text within the label element, it toggles the radio button or checkbox. The for attribute of the label tag should be equal to the ID attribute of input element to bind them together. And then moving to radio buttons. Radio buttons let a user to select one of limited number of choices. So in the same way as label, here inside the form field, the input type is radio and ID is HTML, and for the name the value is given as a favorite language, and the value is given as HTML. So as we can see in the output, here we have three choices. Out of three choices we need to select one. So we need to write three input types. For the specific input type, the labels and the specified value need to be mentioned. So after specifying, we can choose any one of the option out of three options. And then coming to last part, that is checkboxes. The input type checkbox defines a checkbox. Checkboxes let a user to select zero or more options of a limited number of choices. As we can see in the output, we have three options and we need to select any one. So in the same way as radio buttons, in radio buttons the button format is used. Here, rather than using a button, the checkboxes are used. So we need to use the input type as many choices we needed. So number of input types is equal to number of choices. So here three input types are defined. For a specific input type, the specified ID and value is defined. After specifying the value, if we click the submit button, and we receive the choice which we are selected. As if we click the bike, I have a bike option, then the output will be received as vehicle 1, and which is equal to bike. So in the same format as radio buttons, checkboxes will do a same specified operation. Thank you.